Appreciate everyone taking the time to join our Document Lifecycle webinar, which is part of the Changing Lawyer webinar series. Today, we'll be discussing the document lifecycle in a holistic view, which has benefits not only to the organizations as a whole, but the end users and avoiding user disruption. From an introduction standpoint today, I am Matt James. I will be the primary presenter. Simon, unfortunately, will not be making it today, but we'll speak to his role, as you can see here on the screen, as the Vice President of Product Evangelism. So Simon has a team of individuals like myself who are heavily focused on ensuring the customer needs and visions are appropriately taken care of and represented from a product and feature perspective in our technology, as well as from a thought leadership element in the legal space. I myself, I've been with the organization for 10 years. I work heavily with user design individuals and user experience folks across the firms, as well as those who are leading their innovation practices. Today we're going to focus heavily, as I had mentioned, on the end user experience and really what we classify as focusing on what matters. What we're heavily focused on from a user experience perspective is ease of use, right? We want tools that allow the lawyers to do the right thing. So what does that mean? That means it needs to be intuitive to the workflow. And in doing so, we can't just be a click if it's an additional click. It needs to be something that works for the most traditional paper attorney to the young tech-savvy mobile device associate. The technology we offer is anticipating the lawyer's next steps. What do they need to do next to accomplish the task of high-quality work product and meeting deadlines? And it also needs to be reactive. What happens when that document goes out the door and comes back? What are the challenges that are faced in multiple iterations of document drafting and review process? So being able to correct those mistakes or those challenges that present hurdles in front of the content expert. As we had mentioned, it needs to be complementary to the workflow, right? This needs to be something that saves clicks, not adds clicks. And it also needs to avoid leaving the application that we're in, right? We often hear that it's hard to know what to use, when to use it. I don't know what product I need for what particular task. The goal here is to avoid leaving the application that you're in, such as Microsoft Word or Outlook. As we talk about a single point of contact, we'll see here a single ribbon. The ribbon allows us to stay focused on the lawyer ecosystem. That's part of what we'll be demonstrating today. And we'll see that there's no need to move from one tab to another tab whatsoever. You'll be capable of achieving all of the tasks that you need to perform from one particular location inside of Word. And then the last, as I said here earlier on, tools I need to do my job. It needs to be streamlined, not overwhelming. No need to complicate the ribbon beyond what is already there. Only the solutions that make sense from a production standpoint. So with technology comes challenges, right? And I think that what I use here is reverse the curse. Big Cubs fan, so that's kind of a slogan that we had going on. But it's that the legal technology industry has had a burden in regards to what has been offered, right? There's the IT side of things where you need to ensure integration across multiple vendors or the amount of add-ins that are living in Word. You need to know who to contact from a support perspective. And that support perspective could be multiple vendors that need to work together to alleviate a problem, or it could be someone directly that you need to find out who owns that particular product. Also updates, right? I think we've all experienced the challenge associated with Microsoft having this 18, which is, I believe, is now 24-month upgrade cycle. As Microsoft upgrades, each of these products need to upgrade, and balancing when you upgrade a product based on when a release cycle is often challenging as well. In addition to that, it's very siloed, right? We talk about the piecemeal desktop. There are multiple vendors in each spot trying to react to the same type of event. So the mindset here is to understand that technology has been a challenge for those who have been working in the legal space because of the way that the integrations have been set up. We know that training is unattended. We know that lawyers are too busy. They're not going to respond to the emails that are set. It's just much easier to say, I'll have my assistant or my word processing team do that for me rather than learn the technology. I also believe that vendors have added to the challenge here, right? The ability, the lack of the ability to provide insights into who's using the technology and how, or moving away from technical training into more of a professional development atmosphere where we can get those to attend and see what the firm has invested in their practice from a technology perspective. And I believe vendors are big for pushing, right? Telling you how to use their product as opposed to adapting to how someone who is working in this on a daily basis would use this technology. And then user disruption has always been a challenge, right? If you rip something out, you take something away from a user, they're going to be upset. If you put something brand new in front of them and there's too much change associated with it, it's not going to be widely accepted. So our solution really to that has been the lawyer ecosystem. So as I jump into Microsoft Word, you'll see I have a ribbon that goes left to right, accomplishing everything that I need. That is part of what we consider the document lifecycle, which is this image that you're seeing right here. Now, this image is what we consider the first draft to final delivery. The one area that we do not offer is the research and guidance, and I believe everyone is well familiar with who those vendors are. But we do come into play around precedent and clauses, document reuse, all the way through the ability to check and repair documents to the way that you share them out the door. We break this document lifecycle up into 3 areas: create, check, and collaborate. Create is all about that first draft, how you get the content on screen. Check is all about ensuring the highest quality, eliminating reputational risk, and producing a high quality work product in a timely fashion. And collaborating is all about sharing in a similar fashion with the same result. When I send through email or secure file transfer or through a file share, do I have the same technology covering my gaps such as metadata? That's to ensure that you're providing the tools for everyone to do the right thing. As we step into Microsoft Word, I've prepared really a 5 to 10 minute presentation here that speaks to the life of a lawyer. And while they're often jumping between multiple matters, we'll stick to one matter in this particular scenario. Please do take an opportunity to jot down notes or pass any questions along in the chat window. We will have time at the end of this webinar to answer those and provide the responses that you're looking for. To start the demonstration here, I had mentioned multiple times that first draft can be a variety of methods. In this particular scenario, what I'm going to leverage is a precedent bank. And through the create space, I can pull in an agreement that I've used previously, and I can generate it on screen and find my content readily available. And while this content has only been on screen for a matter of seconds, as a lawyer, since the moment I've opened this, I've been looking to add my content in from either prior work product that I've had successful matters in, or from a series of resources maybe on the web, but I want to construct this document accordingly. And in order to do so, I often rely on techniques surrounding copy and paste. So what I'll show here is that while I can absolutely leverage my clause bank that we're going to speak to here in a moment, the lawyers can also utilize the ability to get some insights into the document. As I generate an analysis on the right-hand side, I can have a tree view in this particular situation, or I may use a tile view. But ultimately, what I'm provided is insight into where concerns lie in my document. And those are color-coded for convenience, right? We'll see red as an intention item, we'll see yellow as something that's informational, and we'll see green as no concern. In the top portion, we'll see a risk assessment that is providing us guidance to say, in the traditional, instead of you have 10 minutes to proofread before this goes out the door, here are those 10 issues you need to alleviate. As we click into the risk assessment and look at these 10 items, we can absolutely go top down, as we often do when proofing a document or reading through, but we can also organize by category. And by organizing by category, there's insights provided into my document that's not available in any other solution or Microsoft Word. And by doing so, I can really get an understanding where the problems in this document lie. We can see that out of order numbering and repeated numbering are the primary focuses here. And rather than pass this off and jump to another matter or tackle this myself, which I think we can all agree is not the best use of a lawyer's time, I can leverage the repair buttons on the top to eliminate those issues. So by clicking the numbers button, it understands what the individual is trying to draft in this document from an outline perspective. It knows firm standards, and it's capable of importing and applying the best scenario from a numbering perspective in this document. So it's making the best decision, and upon doing so, it enforces continuity. And on the right-hand side, what we'll see is really what matters, which are substance-related issues. So being able to alleviate some of the word intricacies of drafting to focus on content and what matters from a perspective of speaking to parties but never using parties, or having a number discrepancy where I have 100,000 numerically, but I've written out 1 million, or getting to the point where closing date again has been defined and not used. I also can take a look at my incomplete items, and this is where we can come back to the clause perspective of things. And again, there's no exact workflow that needs to be done. I can absolutely insert a clause before I use this element, but Contract Companion, very similar to some of the clipboard, the comparison functionality you'll see, is often the glue to the workflow, constantly getting an understanding of the quality of content and understanding what's changed across versions. In the incomplete items, I can quickly see that there is a placeholder for my section 3.1 where I need to put in text. And by doing so, or by navigating that location, we'll see it's selected, and I can use the clause portion to either insert from a favorite clause or actually show my library and get an understanding of what clauses I'm using. If I expand my folders, I can find my use and disclosure folder, and then I can double click to import and inherit the document styling for that particular clause. So what we can see is that the hurdles of copy and paste that often require me to use these cleanup tools, conforming my fonts or my size or my spacing, has been eliminated or alleviated in the sense of not even putting it in the way of the drafter. So as I bring in my clause, we'll see that 3.1, A, B, and C are now in place of that placeholder. As we step back and take a look at my risk assessment, we'll see that parties has now been used appropriately and it's alleviated itself on the right-hand side. And I can then focus my attention on what we looked at earlier, which is that 100,000. I can even take advantage of track changes, which we know are often utilized. So by coming in and making a correction to the document for 1 million and defining closing date appropriately, make it bold. And we will call this today's date of April 18th, 2018. Upon completing, and we'll make a correction to the typo there. Upon completing an edit, what we'll see is the right-hand side automatically refreshes to show that there are no results found. As I step back, I can feel confident that when this goes out the door, there are no items for my attention. I did see when I was in my incomplete items that I am missing a table of contents, which is the last piece to this document before it goes out the door. I'll turn off track changes in this scenario, as we know the table of contents will be brand new. I can delete my placeholder, click on the table of contents button. It will allow me to proceed working with track changes, as we often do, and even provide me the appropriate amount of levels for generating the table of contents. In this case, we'll hit 2 levels. The table of contents will be generated. Legal legibility, and what I mean by that is if we were to take a look at any of these paragraphs, such as section 2.1, we'll see that it's only bringing in the first sentence as opposed to the entirety of a paragraph. On the right-hand side, we can see our incomplete items have been taken care of, and now this document is ready to be shared externally. I would often save the document to my document management system. In this case, I will just save locally. We will call this the Master Debt Restructuring Agreement. I will step into Outlook, where I can generate an email that is appropriate to my party. I can include the recently used document. We'll call this the Master Debt Restructuring Agreement. Please review, and we'll send it out the door. At this point, we've jumped into that collaboration space. As I send this, we can feel confident that metadata scrubbing is occurring on the back end. It's a common practice in the marketplace to address metadata scrubbing at the time of send, less so around the server, which we've really worked to educate on, in the sense that the external recipient may be receiving something on a mobile device or from a mobile device. So we have the ability to passively clean, but also provide alerting. And in this particular case, we can see that I wanted to be informed every time I have track changes in my document, so I can make the appropriate decision. Again, not looking to interrupt the end user, but this is something that is important to me, both on a mobile device and from my desktop, to know that track changes exist in my document. My default is to accept all. I could retain those if I so choose. But as I click OK, it goes out the door and everything is taken care of. Now, in a real world scenario, I'd probably jump to another matter for this document to come back, but my external recipient was so quick with returning this email. I now have version 3 that they sent back to me in my Outlook. I can go ahead and open that. I can go to my Document Lifecycle ribbon and say I want to understand what's changed in this document. And I can click on Change Pro, in which the ribbon will open, again, never leaving the Word application. I can select the document that I was sent out, and I can generate a comparison to understand what's changed from the document that's returned back to me. As the comparison completes, we'll see on the left-hand side, we'll have the luxury of stepping through the changes. We can see that there was a change to the date and 2 changes to 30 business days as opposed to 30 days. I find those both to be appropriate. I can step back into Word. I can save the document that was sent to us, again, the desktop in this case, or document management system, as version 3. And I can leverage the ability to generate the PDF. As I do so, it opens in our PDF viewer and editor tool, directs me to the signature line in which I can provide a signature. I can save this to flatten the signature, and once again return to the other application I spend the majority of my time, which is Outlook. I can reply, same workflow as when I was sending a standard email, attaching my PDF, but this time as I send it, I want to send it securely. So as I put please execute, on the top left, I have the ability under my send options to secure my attachments. In fact, I can do much more. I can set an expiration for how long they're available. I can 2-factor authenticate, and I can even password protect the document. As I choose to secure attachments, we'll see the secure file transfer is activated. With the piecemeal desktop in the legal industry, this often provides or introduces a gap in technology in that it routes around Exchange and server-side metadata does not provide coverage. What we'll see here is, well, that can also happen passively with our secure file transfer. I've integrated it to present itself so we can see that metadata cleaning is supported in this fashion. I can change the policy if I so choose. I can click yes, and it's now gone out the door. Same workflow by sending through an email, 2 different collaboration techniques, both with the same result. So in the grand scheme of things, the solutions that we offer from the Litera Desktop focus on first draft to final delivery. There's an emphasis on transferable skills, single point of contact, and an ecosystem for a lawyer that makes sense on their day-to-day. So while cosmetically these can be changed for each individual's practice area, the ultimate goal is to ensure that the technology is available to do the right thing at the right time, and there's no confusion about where to go to achieve that. And we'll see in the grand scheme of things, this adds to the overall adoption of technology across the firm. One last piece that I speak to before we jump into some of the questions that I've seen come through is that we want to focus on the fact that as a vendor, we're providing usage data, right? Which is the reinvestment into our customer base to ensure that they're providing the usage or they're getting the value out of the product that they've invested in accordingly. So not only do we provide the ability to tell you unique users, who's leveraging the product, what features are being heavily utilized, but we can also identify educational opportunities for those who are not using it, or maybe where continuing education courses could really provide value. Additionally, something that we've seen recently was the ability to identify power users and really get their faith and name behind the technology to embrace it and champion it internally to ensure that adoption and the word of mouth is coming from someone who has similar experiences and challenges as opposed to just IT or vendor related individuals. I'll go ahead and bring the Litera Microsystems engine and emblem back up on screen here and answer some of the questions that came in. So I saw that someone had mentioned here that the demonstration that I performed was primarily corporate focused and was asking if there are similar capabilities for litigation. I started to touch on the ability to change this for practice area, but absolutely. Litigators can leverage the content bank that we saw. They can absolutely leverage the litigation companion element, which is the ability to proof. There's TOA functionality, and as we talk deeper into the create space, there's definitely precedence from a pleading perspective and brief perspective as well. Looking at the next question here, the question was, do you need to save the document locally, or does it offer document management system integration? It does offer the document management system integration on open, on save, on all of the elements that you need it to. I was just saving locally as I was disconnected from the network here. And I saw that there was another question around how extensive the training is required for a ribbon like this. And I did start to touch on that a little bit. We absolutely provide training capabilities from a vendor perspective, right? We will show how the product can be utilized. We'll tailor it to use cases and business case scenarios that the firm experiences. We have 30-second videos ensuring that we're just focusing on how to leverage this and alleviate concerns related to what you have in your documents. We do have continuing education, as I had mentioned. We've gotten that accredited in multiple states to ensure that technology is being leveraged appropriately to best support clients. But big training is not needed in the sense that what we're providing is very intuitive to the workflow, and it makes sense, right? As we take a look at this ribbon, we will see that I know where I go when I need to create a document, reuse, or review, or repair. So being able to provide something in this light really lowers the need for training, and companion to us often is the concept of quick to value, meaning that when you put this on a user's machine, it immediately makes sense, it complements their workflow, and training is not necessary. I think there was one last question just about if all of these buttons are required. Absolutely not. It can be as simple or as expanded as you would so choose. Again, our theme to find success has been provide the technology that is needed in order to accomplish the drafting lifecycle. This particular ribbon works for me in the sense of how it's shown today in demonstration. So that looks like it's it for questions. We appreciate you joining this session. Hope you found value in it, and I'm more than happy to have additional conversations around how a single ribbon could help your firm and your users. Thanks again for joining.